So it's 2024, you've decided that you hate modeling, you never want to use a menu in your life, but you still want to work. You're going to need some sort of direct solution that is appropriate for silent stages, unfortunately, probably if you're going to work. What can you do? This is a video kind of about that. This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. I had a question from Robin, and he asked me, will the Friedman IR D do an acceptable job as like a clean pedal platform? Now, if you set the gain switches, this got this gain structure like S1, S2 stuff. If you set it appropriately, it can do pretty clean cleans. I think in general, if you're looking for totally clean stuff, the Friedman IRX might be a better choice. But for that intro there, I was using, as you probably saw, the blues driver and also then the jam rattler. I think this is a solution. Now, I personally would be selecting the IRD because of the drives really more than anything else. I think that's where it shines. I'm not sure that the cleans are necessarily as inspiring as the drive sound of it. I guess a point to make is that probably any direct solution is going to have some element of modeling in it. I'm assuming that what people don't like about the modeling thing is, one is maybe the absence of a tube, two is maybe the presence of menu systems, and so that's kind of what we're trying to avoid in this video. So I did some demo videos of the IRX initially, then Friedman sent me this one. So can it do a decent clean? I think so. It's probably, you know, a little bit in the Marshall flavor of clean, which is not necessarily suitable for every single thing, and you don't get fully out of the digital realm necessarily because there's like the modeled power amp and the option for IRs, but it does have a send and return, it does have a headphone out, and it has a balanced output. So you get to your gig, they say no amps today, what do you take? a Friedman IR D could be appropriate. But as I say, I think that would be a better choice if you were going to be using drives as well. Now, if you weren't going to be using any drives, I think there's still some argument to be made for the Tech 21 stuff. I've only got like a little Joyo clone of one, but those sound pretty good and are inexpensive. And basically for the person who is reluctant to go direct, those might be a good option. And I've heard other people playing them, they sound really good still and super simple, pretty flexible. I think Tech 21 with the Sans amp stuff still has some relevance, even if like not a ton of people are necessarily shouting about them anymore. I think those are worth a look. This next solution is definitely modeling, but I think they've done it in a way where it kind of doesn't really feel like you're using a modeler. Like the universal audio stuff is pretty good for this. So my buddy had a Dream 65. I had a Lion 68 for a bit. I think for me, what makes sense if you're doing pedal platform stuff might be something like the Dream 65 or even the Ruby, which is their Voxy thing. The Lion 68 a little bit more plexi based, or a lot more plexi based. Maybe not the best for a pedal platform, but you know, it could work. The other thing is that what's nice about the Dream 65 is you've got a really, really nice reverb on there. So if I was looking specifically for a clean pedal platform that didn't really feel too much like a modeler, the Dream 65 I think would be on my short list of stuff, because that can do a really decent job. I think I'd have to say that the BluGuitar AMP1, this is the Mercury edition, this is the one that I've tried. I think this is definitely worth thinking about as well, and I've done plenty of videos on these, but can go direct and sound good, and not only that, can then be used with a cab if needed, has your effects return. There is, you know, some analog, some digital stuff in here, but crucially, I think with the power amp section being involved with this nanotube, to me it seems like this is answering a bit of a different thing, where the Friedman IR D is like, right, we'll do the tube preamp thing. What about doing the tube power amp thing instead? You know, a different approach, but I think it sounds really good and has a great feel to it, has a great sound to it, and when I gigged it with the remote, it was a really, really, really good experience. So in terms of a pedal platform, that might be a shout as well. When you're just playing at home levels, the clean wasn't super inspiring, but actually playing it live on a gig was pretty good fun, and the drives on here sound great too. There is one other thing out there that I think, well, there's lots of other things out here, but the TC Electronics have their own kind of versions of sort of what Universal Audio are doing that might be worth a look. I'm not entirely sure, but those seem to be a little bit more drive based. There's the simplifier stuff, which I've experienced a while ago, and I didn't necessarily think it brought too much different to the table, but that is all analog if that's something that you're looking for. But for me personally, once you get around the idea of a modeler having menus and stuff like that, I think all of these solutions sound in the ballpark. And as I did a video on the other day about why amp modelers don't sound like the real amp, it's less to do, I think, what these things are doing and more to do with what is actually missing, which is the real cab and that real interaction in a room with volume. So I think once you remove the cab from the equation, all of these solutions start to actually sound really and feel pretty similar, and much more like one another than actually playing with a cab and an amp in the room. So that's kind of one point that I wanted to make. And also, the other thing is that if you are relying on just a direct gig, I think it's good to have the flexibility and EQ and stuff like that that you might need to get you through the gig sometimes, if there's a particularly tricky in-ear mix. Always grateful for having high cuts on the cabs and being able to get in and do that. Not only that, but you've also got, in many of these situations, lots of effects and lots of other things that you can do. But right, let's just plug in the IRD by itself and try and answer your question directly, Robin. This doesn't have a reverb built in either, so you're going to need a reverb pedal. The other kind of solution that I think might be worth thinking about if you've already got an amp or an amp head that you've taken to things is just a direct load box, and I think that is actually the closest experience you can get to playing your amp in a way. So yeah, that's with the switch in the middle. Not what you would call like a pristine clean though, right? And then if you involve the blues driver, but where I think it shines really So Robin, I hope that answers your question. For me personally, I've done a few comparisons of these bits and pieces, like the IRX versus the HX Stomp in particular, and for me, I think there aren't enough big differences, unlike the Dream 65, that would make me think that these were necessarily a definite choice to make over the HX Stomp or whatever, or the Helix. But if you're someone who doesn't want to be in the modelling pool, then I think there's some pretty good solutions out there for you. Leave other folks your opinions below in the comments if you've got a really good solution that works well for you. As I say, the Tech 21 stuff, the AMP1 stuff, the Friedman IRD, the IRX, although maybe those are a little bit tailored more towards drive tones, it'd be interesting to see, because they're essentially synergy modules, there might be something a bit more appropriate coming down the line soon. I have no idea whether that is the case. Those are some of the solutions that come to mind to me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Oh, and probably nothing really is going to beat like a load box kind of idea. That could really be a way to go, but obviously that's going to be a little bit more space taken up.